HOA Karens sprayed filth on my window, fined $80,000 and cleaned it. The spray paint hit my window with a hiss that felt like a slap. I froze, coffee mug halfway to my lips, as neon green streaks splattered across the glass, turning my view of the cul-de-sac into a garish abstract painting. Karen, the HOA's self-appointed enforcer, stood in my front yard, her face twisted in smug triumph, a can of paint in one hand and a clipboard in the other. I'd only lived in Willow Creek for 3 months, a quiet 28-year-old graphic designer named Mia, trying to make a fresh start after a messy divorce. The neighborhood was idyllic, manicured lawns, kids on bikes, the kind of place where people wave from porches, but Karen was the storm cloud in this suburban paradise. She was 50-something, with a peroxide blonde bob and a penchant for power trips. As HOA president, she wielded her rulebook like a scepter, fining people for unapproved mailbox colors or grass half an inch too tall. I'd heard whispers about her at the community barbecue, how she'd once reported a family for their dogs barking, nearly getting it taken away. But I never thought she'd target me. It started with a note. 2 weeks after I moved in, Karen slipped a letter under my door, written in aggressive red ink. Your front yard violets violate HOA Code 3.1.2, non-native plants prohibited. Remove by Friday or face a $500 fine. I was stunned. The violets were tiny, tucked in a corner by my porch, a gift from my late grandmother's garden. They weren't hurting anyone. I ignored the note, thinking it was a misunderstanding. That was my first mistake. The next week, Karen escalated. She knocked on my door at 7 a.m., her smile as sharp as a knife. Mia, those weeds are still here, she said, pointing at my violets. You're new, so I'll give you one more chance. Pull them out, or I'll have to report you. Her tone was syrupy, but her eyes gleamed with something darker. I tried to explain they weren't weeds. They were heirlooms, but she cut me off. Rules are rules. You'll learn. I didn't pull them out. Maybe it was stubbornness. Maybe it was grief. But those violets were all I had left of Grandma's garden. By the next HOA meeting, Karen had slapped me with the $500 fine and a warning comply. Or it'd get worse. I paid it, gritting my teeth, but I kept the violets. That's when things got ugly. Karen started patrolling my street daily, her SUV crawling by like a shark circling prey. She'd stop, take photos, and scribble notes. Neighbors began avoiding me, as if Karen's wrath was contagious. Then came the second fine, $1,000 for unmaintained landscaping. My lawn was pristine, but Karen claimed my violets were spreading chaos. I appealed at the HOA board meeting, but the other members, cowed by Karen's glare, sided with her. I was out another grand, and the violets stayed. The tension simmered for weeks. I'd catch Karen staring at my house from across the street, her lips pursed like she was plotting. I started locking my doors at night, something I'd never done before. Then, one morning, I woke to find my mailbox spray-painted with the word non-compliant in red. Kids, I thought at first, but the precision of the letters screamed Karen. I had no proof, so I cleaned it off and kept quiet. But inside, I was boiling. The twist came when Mr. Delaney, the 70-year-old widower next door, knocked on my door one evening. He was a quiet man, always tinkering in his garage. But that night his hands trembled as he handed me a grainy photo. Caught this on my security camera, he whispered. It showed Karen, unmistakable in her pink tracksuit, creeping onto my property at 2 a.m. with a can of spray paint. She did my shed last year, he admitted. I didn't say anything because, well, she scares people. His confession hit me like a punch. Karen wasn't just a bully, she was a vandal, and I wasn't her only victim. Armed with the photo, I planned to confront her at the next HOA meeting, but Karen moved faster. That's when the paint hit my window. I ran outside, heart pounding, as she sprayed another streak, this time yellow. "What the hell are you doing?" I shouted. She didn't flinch, just turned to me with a smirk. "Teaching you a lesson. Mia, you think you can ignore the rules. This is what happens. She gestured at the window. Now a dripping mess of green, yellow, and mud she'd apparently scooped from my flower bed. Neighbors peeked from their windows, but no one intervened. I grabbed my phone, recording her. "You're destroying my property," I yelled. Karen laughed, tossing the can onto my lawn. "Prove it," she said, sauntering off. I stood there, shaking, as the paint dried in ugly streaks. My home, my sanctuary, was defaced, and Karen thought she'd won. But she hadn't counted on Mr. Delaney or the others. His photo was the spark. But word of Karen's stunt spread like wildfire. At the HOA meeting the next night, I walked in with the photo, my video, and a surprised 3 other neighbors who'd come forward with their own stories. Mrs. Patel said Karen had fined her $2,000 for a non-compliant fence that was actually approved. The Wilsons revealed Karen had reported their autistic son's sensory garden as a nuisance, nearly costing them their home. And Mr. Delaney, voice steady now, showed his footage of Karen's late-night vandalism sprees, not just my mailbox, but half a dozen others over the years. The room erupted. Karen's face went from smug to ashen as the board, finally pushed too far, demanded answers. She stammered, claiming it was all a misunderstanding, but the evidence was ironclad. I pressed harder, revealing I'd sent the footage to the police and a lawyer. Vandalism, harassment, abuse of power. Karen's reign was crumbling. The climax came in court 2 months later. The judge, a no-nonsense woman with zero patience for Karen's crocodile tears, didn't hold back. Karen's vandalism wasn't just a prank, it was malicious, calculated, and part of a pattern. The window damage alone cost $3,000 to repair, but the judge tacked on punitive damages for emotional distress and HOA misconduct. Karen was fined $80,000 payable to me and the other victims, and ordered to personally clean my window under supervision. The courtroom gallery, packed with neighbors, cheered as she slumped in her seat, defeated. Watching Karen scrub my window was surreal. She showed up in her usual tracksuit, but the bravado was gone. Her hands shook as she wiped away the last traces of paint, her face red with humiliation. Neighbors gathered, some filming, others clapping. Mr. Delaney stood beside me, a quiet smile on his face. "She thought she was untouchable," he said, "but you showed her." The HOA rewrote its bylaws after that, stripping Karen of her presidency and banning her from future boards. She moved away a month later. Her house sold at a loss. My violets are still there, blooming brighter than ever. But the real victory wasn't the money or the clean window. It was the community coming together, breaking Karen's grip. We weren't just neighbors anymore. We were allies. What do you think? Did Karen get what she deserved? Or should the punishment have been harsher? Share your thoughts below.